shift something over, or? What? Finish the video, but it may be playing already, though.
No.
Yeah, stop playing.
Many times, nobody really looked at them. Not that different from you, are they? Haircuts, little hormones, just like you. Invincible, just like you feel. The world is their oyster. They believe they're destined for great things, just like many of you. Their eyes are full of hope. They wait until it was too late to make from their lives even one iota of what they were capable of. Because you see, gentlemen, these boys are now fertilizing daffodils. It's real close. You can hear them whisper the legacy to you. Or lean in. Hear it?
Carpe Diem. Seize the day. Get in the lab, do your work. You don't have an infinite amount of time. The important thing is to live each day in science. And that's one message you can get by looking at history, because you look at these people year by year that we looked at on the wall, and they're different. But you say, well, they haven't died. Most of them haven't. A couple have. In fact, if I sit on the steps in front of the food boy, which I do many days and at lunch, I'm likely to see practically all of them sooner or later over the summer. But there is an analogy here, because you saw in the picture they're not the same people. The genius of MBL, in fact, is that they turn these people over. A person comes here and teaches for 5 years or 4 years or 3 years, and then they leave, and somebody else comes, and somebody else comes. And there's a bit of overlap for continuity, but each summer is a new draw. It's a new deal of the cards, and a new bunch of students come in, a new bunch of faculty, and every 5 years a whole new bunch of faculty comes in. And what this has meant is that the MBL, is that the course people, the course every year is something new. It's a new take on where science is going. Now in a university, they appoint somebody, they get some guy who's really hot, and they appoint him to do 2-photon microscopy or something, and he might be doing 2-photon microscopy 25 years later. You can't do that here. You do 2-photon microscopy as long as it's the most important thing to be doing, and then it's gone. And the next most important thing comes in. And so I think the particular value of the courses has been just that I think students have an unerring instinct about where things are going, what's important, that these things are put in front of them, they can choose, and they get it right, and the next generation of ideas goes out. And so being in the course is a real opportunity to seize the moment and formulate yourself, formulate your scientific career in a way that if you get caught in the interstices of administration, career advancement, and so on, it becomes difficult to do. So the content of the courses, the thrust of the courses then, by definition, is going to be very sensitive to what's going on in science, and it's going to change much more rapidly. Change in a very sensitive way. It's going to be a very sensitive compass needle to where things are going. So one thing you could learn from history is just look back, look over the years and see what people were doing, and what they thought they were doing, and see how things do change. Because what you could learn from this is not to be too resistant to change yourself. Understand that you may be riding the evanescent wave right now, but it ain't going to be there in a few years. It's evanescent, and you're going to be doing something. There's going to be something else to do. Can you adapt? Can you have the confidence to go in and grab this technique and use it, and then have the real confidence to understand when you should move on, pick up a new problem. I'm going to talk about my scientific hero today, and he picked up a new problem about every 5 or 8 years, 5 to 10 years, and thereby managed to keep seizing the moment and being there in science, not sitting in an office somewhere. Although he was very good at that too. Let's look back then at the stratification. Let's see. Of the course. What happened? Thank you. I don't have a pointer, but I can use my hand. I'm going to talk about. I regard this period over back here as a Cambrian period. The Cambrian period, as Stephen Jay Gould pointed out, was a time in which animals, organisms didn't quite know what pattern to adopt, and so they were trying out different funny patterns. In fact, if you sit in front of the food boy long enough, you see Stephen Jay Gould walk by, which I did. He's dead now, but he was here. And so I regard this as a Cambrian, and actually this is where I came in. Maybe a prejudice there. When Ed Kravitz became the director of the course, and that was a new draw. He got me and some others that I'll show you. Here's Ed Kravitz. Now you may recognize, anybody recognize this picture, where it came from? Any of the students recognize this picture?
That one of those.
What?
1960. Something on the big wall hanging.
Good for you. You're looking. That's the one that's every day when you walk into the lab, it's hanging there at the end of the hall, staring you in the face, and the little synaptic vesicles. We pulled these out last night. So this is Ed Kravitz, who was the director of the course. He was a biochemist, discovered GABA. John Hildebrand was a postdoc with Ed. Was interested in insect systems. Oh, somebody did Ed Hirschman up. That Hirschman discovered gap junctions. Sorry.
Ran through a bunch of things.
I'm too impatient for these things. Anybody recognize this person?
Yeah.
That's John Weiser. People had more hair back then. Jerry Fishbach. And Story Landis. We're very proud of Story Landis because she was just appointed director of NINDS. Jerry Fishbach was the previous director, and Zach Hall, who taught in the physiology section of that course in that period, was the previous director. So running around in this 5-year period were 5 future directors of NINDS. I don't know what to make of that. It might have been better if they stayed in the lab, but I don't know. Story and Jerry taught a section on development. They're heavily dependent on cultures. Jerry and Story were good at good culture systems. Story had a postdoc at Harvard with Hirschman Potter and picked some of this up. There was a physiology section with Ed Hirschman and Tony Stretton and David Potter and Hewell and Wiesel were known to come down and talk to the students at the time. John Weiser and I taught electron microscopy. Light microscopy was just a microscope in the corner of the development section. And so what was important? Oh, and biochemistry was Ed Kravitz and John Hildebrand. So at that time, the student projects would be very individual. The concept of getting these different disciplines together was there, but not the concept of getting the people together. You didn't have a lecture where there would be 15 people listed at the end, where the lecture was obviously a piece of a project and had to use a lot of different techniques to get this work done. You'd say, well, I think I want to work on opener claws and lobsters or something, and you might do biochemistry and maybe come around and see John and do a little EM on it. The beginnings of this kind of integrated approach were there, but it didn't behoove people to live that, to live it in it, and so we got these tremendously varied projects. We had some wonderful students. I hesitate to name students because it's part of this Carpe Diem thing. I think that each of you is where you are and you're going to make your careers. And it doesn't do any good to go back and say, look what so-and-so did, or look what so-and-so did. So I'm not going to do a lot of that. I'm going to mention one person because she was my favorite she had my favorite project and one of my favorite incidences. This was Marge Livingston. And at that time, a lot of the work was being done on invertebrates, and people wanted to go out in the collection boat and see what was going on. So Marge put on her bikini and got there at 6 in the morning, went out on the collection boat, and came back looking exactly like a lobster, which is what we were teaching. And the other thing about Marge Livingston is that she had a lot of activities such as the one I just mentioned going on, and the night before the projects, which would have been yesterday, she came to me and we had projects, same as now. Remember, this is the post-Cambrian. The course has taken its form, and I'm going to talk about how it's got its form. Go back to that. Now, what we're seeing are smaller variations on the form, and so she came to me and said, I don't have anything to talk about. I haven't done any work. And, is there anything I do? And I said, it's up to you, baby. And so I walked home, and she was outside looking up light like this, looking around, grabbing things. And she got to give her project. What she'd done is she'd gone out and grabbed some moths off the lamp and taken them into the scanning microscope, stuck their wings down, looked at them, and measured the spacings, and she had this beautiful presentation where she showed that the color of the wing depended on the spacing of the diffraction pattern of the wing. Now, she got scooped on this. It turned out that somebody at MIT had already thought of that, but she thought this de novo. And it's that kind of moment of creativity that we're looking for. And I was very, very pleased with that project. The pit. The pit was there. This is the pit, and this is one of the tables. These tables have meant a lot to us over the years because the original group of the Kravitz rotation arrived. All except me got busy and sanded the tables down and re-varnished them. And for weeks after that, the varnish was a little bit wet. And if you go look at the tables carefully, you'll see places where papers from 20 years ago, 25 years ago, stuck to the varnish. There's still imprints of old manuscripts and stuff on the tops of these tables. This was before they put those stupid closets down at the end, and all our lectures were in the pit. We spent our summer in the pit. I thought it was fine until I, as you'll see later, learned about this place. And wouldn't go back or anything now. After Kravitz, everybody agreed the course was very successful, and let's not change anything. And so John Hildebrand stepped up to be director, and I was here year-round at the time, and so they asked me if I would sort of, maybe in the winter they would, somebody of the students would library books in the lab, they'd need to return, things like that. So I hung on as well. And I never wanted to be course director because they was this 5-year rotation plan, but somehow I was so